When it comes to challenges in gaming, speedrunning takes a game to a whole new level. The optimizations for perfection and the smallest mistake leading to disaster are all a part of what makes top runners so recognized. But what some may consider even more impressive than this raw display of skill and domination over a game is the ability to compete even when the odds are stacked against you. The games I'm going to be listing in this video bring a harsh amount of RNG or random number generators into account when attempting completion. I'm not talking about games like Super Mario 3, which has an 85% chance to end your run at the end. I'm talking about games that won't allow you to get to the end of the game without an insane amount of luck involved. Let's begin. Roguelikes and roguelites are a genre of game that usually involve procedurally generated levels as well as skills or talents throughout your playthrough. Games like Hades, Slay the Spire, Enter the Gungeon, Risk of Rain, and so many more all follow this formula. But what does this mean? Well, a speedrun of these games typically involves starting a standard run and beating the game. Simple, right? That's every speedrun. Well, that's where the roguelites show their ferocity. Each crawl to the next room made in these games showcases a new area and different enemies. Meaning on one hand, you can get a very small room with little enemies, or on the other hand, you can have a big room with lots of enemies that you have to track down and it's going to take a lot more of your time. There's a fastest room to clear and a longest room to clear. And depending on your luck, you can get hit with multiple of the bad rooms and even with great gameplay, won't be able to set a record for yourself. Games like Diablo even give certain loot after defeating mobs, which is a chance to be very helpful for your run, or utterly useless. This is common in many of these games, which is why there is such a massive gap in many players' personal best, a trend that will continue as we head into our next subject. Card games. Probably the most infamous being Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, featuring multiple runs to almost 24 hours long. This game is incredibly daunting to try because of how lucky you have to get during each run. There are often hours of grinding and small chances to get the cards necessary for a quick completion. On top of this, you can't control what your opponent will play. It could be something simple or something game-ending, making you restart your run. That holds true to other card games as well. Games like Hearthstone, where you can at least choose your deck, where still you get a random card each round, and your opponent has a chance of just obliterating you based off of that. These games are essentially built on RNG. Especially, no surprises, classic casino games, because, as you know, the house always wins. But speaking of classic games, board games are another genre that is almost completely luck-based. Think of all your favorite classics: Monopoly, Sorry, Battleship, Game of Life, Yahtzee, and so many more games from your childhood are primarily based on the luck of a dice roll. While these games were usually brought out to kill time during a rainy day, these runners try to bring about the end of these games as quick as possible, with perfect dice rolls and opponents that play right into their hands. You can very easily get a world record, but while it may be simple, it's very unlikely that it will fall right into your lap. The best example of this is the Clue world record. Clue is a murder mystery game where you must solve who the murderer is, where it happened, and with what weapon. And this run is less than a second long and involves the runner simply guessing all three of the criteria successfully, resulting in a quick victory in just a few clicks. Another game that's completely determined by the luck of a roll is Minecraft, or really any sandbox survival game. Minecraft, however, is the best example of this, where the world you spawn into determines everything about the future of your speedrun. There are a number of randomly spawning structures that are needed for a world record on top of fruitful interactions between mobs in-game. This has led to runners starting several worlds all at the same time, in hopes that one looks decent. Other survival-based games also explore this random seed generation when it comes to their speedrun. Since there are a number of steps to take in order to beat the game, your spawn point and the world's generation determine everything about your run. And while these players are at the top of their skill ceiling, it's ultimately the luck that will determine whether or not they can achieve a world record. Next is role-playing games, or RPGs. They take up the last games on our list. I know this is a pretty broad category, but you'll see what I mean. games like Earthbound and Fire Emblem, and especially Pokemon, have times that are all determined by the runner having a certain amount of luck, especially when it comes to item drops, or in the case of Pokemon, encounters. Wild Pokemon encounters are a huge determination of whether or not you will earn a world record. The Pokemon you need to start the run should only have a certain % chance to be found, and when you do find it, you'd better hope it has the right nature if you want the best chance of beating your time and getting yourself a world record. Now there is something that speedrunners can take advantage of, and that is RNG manipulation. This is the process of using the game's mechanics to manipulate the algorithm more heavily in your favor when it comes to these luck-based encounters. And while yes, this is a massive leap forward and is great for helping runners during their playthroughs, at the end of the day, it's still not a sure thing, and the luck remains a massive part of these speedruns. Almost all games contain some level of RNG to be involved in its speedrun, whether or not it's the direction the coins fall in Super Mario 64, the fish you catch in Stardew Valley, or the cards you draw in Balatro. Something that is an integral part of the gameplay cannot be so simply removed for a speedrun. Either way, it creates a fun and exciting lottery that is yet to deter the boldest and most determined of runners. Something that doesn't take any luck is hitting that subscribe button and that like button, something you should absolutely do if you like this video. I make a lot of videos on speedrunning and gaming in general and would appreciate any support you're willing to give me. Take care.